And I leave the floor to Angelo and Marco now.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I'm just going to introduce Marco. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes. Marco Vasile is graduated in physics and philosophy. His research field in philosophy regards the negation of logic and the philosophic thought of ancient people. His main interest is ancient Greece and its relationship with the Western modern civilization. He has written a number of scientific papers regarding the negation of logic and monuments of ancient Greece. He has been working at the Archaeological Park of Paestum for more than 10 years in the field of hospitality, communication, and didactic. I want to thank you, Marco, for being here. I want to thank the Archaeological Park of Paestum for accepting this invite. I want to thank also Maria Boffa, who I understand that she has been working with Marco on this presentation. I'm just going to hand over to you, Marco.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Angelo, for your introduction. Yes, now we are Parco Archeologico di Paestum and Velia since February of last year. So we have incorporated also Velia, that is 40 kilometers south of Paestum. Yes, I'm very honored to be here tonight with you. Before starting my presentation, let me say that in such a critical period for all the museums and archaeological area and sites, this is an important occasion for us to preserve the contact with the public and the cultural operators. So we in Paestum are very grateful with all the organizers of this beautiful event. And my presentation will focus mainly on the early phases of the Romanization of the city. That was an important step to the constitution of the Roman world in Campania region. Now I share my presentation. Okay, do you see it? Yes. Yes. From time to time, I will introduce some videos we shot in Paestum. Some technical operations are required to me, so let's hope the gods of technology will help me. I will start by introducing the geographical location of the site, because in some way it contains all the historical destiny of the ancient city. Yes. This is Poseidonia Paestum. Here, a Greek colony was founded in 600 BC by Greek settlers, and the territory of Poseidonia went from the south, from Acropolis, probably this place played some role in the Greek foundation of the city, to the north, where there is the river Sele, Silaris in the ancient sources. So the geographical position of Paestum was very attractive and very strategic, because it is very close to the ocean, to the sea. It is protected by the mountain from north, and it is in a fertile land crossed by an important river. This is the beautiful air view of Paestum, where you can see the ancient walls. This is the most, I think, the best preserved ancient walls in Magna Grecia in Italy. You see the Temple of Athena here, the northern sanctuary, and the southern sanctuary here with the two temples, Temple of Neptune and Temple of Hera, the Basilica. In the middle, there was, in the Greek time, an enormous agora. Exactly here, the Romans created their own Roman Forum. And my presentation will focus mainly on this area, because a lot of very interesting political and also urban phenomena happened just here. This is an area view of Paestum. They are the two temples of the southern sanctuary, Temple of Neptune and Basilica. What you see here are all Roman remains of houses. The rectangular blocks, all the houses are arranged inside. What you see instead here, it's Agropoli, so the southern extremity of the territory, in some way controlled by Paestum. Now we pass to the ancient monuments of Paestum. They definitely are part of the European image, of the shared European image of antiquity, and they became very early in an European myth during the Grand Tour period. We will see something about this. Mostly, of course, the three Doric temples. This is the Temple of Neptune, the Basilica, Temple of Neptune from west, Temple of Neptune from southwest, the Basilica, Temple of Hera, the first stone temple built in Paestum, in the urban area of the city, the Basilica from west side. This is the beautiful Temple of Athena. It was built on an artificial little acropolis built by the Greeks, because Athena must be higher. She is the goddess of politics, strategy. This is a classical view of the Temple of Athena with the two pine trees and mountains. Also, the ancient walls of Paestum are part of the shared European image of antiquity. This is the east door, ancient door, Porta Sirena. The station, the railway station is just here. So this is a wonderful path for the visitors to come from the station of Paestum to the archaeological site. This is a beautiful shot I took some days ago when the spring was at its best. This is the southern sector of the ancient walls of Paestum, and these kind of trees are the kings during the spring in Paestum. And of course, even if it was discovered later, last but not least, the world famous Tomb of the Diver that was discovered in 1968, and now is part of the imaginary of Paestum, and probably the most important attraction in our National Museum. This is the diver. Some words, but very few words, are due on the discovering of Paestum. That happened from a cultural point of view, of course, during the Grand Tour period. This is a beautiful plate in Thomas Major's book, one of the first edition of the Paestum temples, published in London in 1768. This is a wonderful, I think, probably my favorite engraving from Giovanni Battista Piranesi. He was in Paestum in 1777, and the year after he died because he was very sick. But he did 21 engravings that are really masterpiece. This is the internal space of the Temple of Neptune with buffaloes. One interesting thing is that Giovanni Battista Piranesi was a great supporter of the Roman supremacy in the architecture. But anyway, he visited Paestum and he left some wonderful memories. Well, the rediscovering of Paestum happened in the first half of 18th century in the context of the Grand Tour, when all the European nations was dramatically increasing their interest for antiquity. It is impossible to underestimate the importance of Paestum and its Doric monuments and ancient monuments in creating a shared European feeling of our ancient past. The rediscovering of Paestum was a common European cultural enterprise. We are very proud for this, even if some individual contributions can be distinguished. Yes, I want to remember some persons. So Felice Gazzola was a military officer of the King of Naples, Charles, together with Jacques Germain Soufflot, organized, that was an important architect, French architect, organized the first documented scientific expedition in Paestum in 1750. They collected some drawings of the temples that were published later, but we have some documents that some previous interest from British men is documented as well. A certain, if I remember right, Robert Smith in 1733 wrote some letters in which he tried to organize an expedition to to Paestum, but it never happened. You know, that year was the year of the Società of Dilettanti, so an enormous interest of British men for antiquity. This is Joachim Winkelmann. He was the first to publish a scientific description of the Paestum temples in 1762. I know, you know, he is one of the most important art historians in Europe. And this is the great British architect John Soane. He was in Paestum when he was very young, 26, in 1779. And he did a lot of things about Paestum. If you visit his museum, the John Soane Museum in London, there is an incredible archive about all the drawings of the Grand Tour period about Paestum. But during his famous lectures about the origin of stone architecture, he was strongly inspired by the Temple of Neptune. This is a Temple of Neptune in wooden. You can recognize the internal colonnades. According to him and other architectural theorists of that period, that circulating in that period, the original of architecture is connected with the wooden, and the temple, the Doric temples was the prototype in some way. Well, and the Romans, of course, yes, the Doric temples are definitely part of the collective image, our image of the European ancient past. But what modern archaeology brought to light, and what concretely visitors from Europe and all over the world experience in Paestum every day, are basically the remains of an ancient city that was deeply reshaped, and this is the target of my presentation, by the Romans, and remaining Roman up to the end of antiquity. The Romans created the conditions for the surviving of Paestum up to and beyond the end of antiquity. Now I want to see together with you very, very fast, of course, which was the background of the Roman Paestum, which kind of social and political situation the Romans met in Paestum when they founded the Latin colony of Paestum. Yes, the history of Paestum, anyone knows, can be traditionally scanned by three levels. Greek, Lucanian, Roman. The city was first Greek because it was founded by Greek settlers in 600 BC. The city was Lucanian later because the city was conquered by the Lucanians around 400 BC. The city was Roman because ancient sources like the Titus Livy and others say as a Latin colony was planted here in 273 BC by the Roman state, a little before the end of the wars against Pyrrhus. The wars against Pyrrhus, if I remember right, ended in 275. 2 years before, two Latin colonies were founded. One is that of Paestum, the other is that of Cosa in the northern region, in the central region of Italy. So our language speaks indifferently of a Greek Lucanian Roman period and of a Greek Lucanian Roman city, using the labels, so the labels Greek, Lucanian, Roman, both for the period and the city. But are these labels really able to grasp the historical reality? This is a problem. Actually, the political ruling class can change, but the aspect of the city can remain almost the same. And this is precisely the case of Paestum, because archaeology has shown us more and more during the last 40 years that the configuration of Paestum from a urban and from the organization of the public space in 273 BC was basically still Greek, because the Lucanians...
All right.
It's okay. The Lucanians didn't change the situation from the point of view of the organization of the city. So we cannot simply discard the three levels, but we can feel this problem. And there is a problem when we use indifferently for the period and for the city, the level of Greek rather than Lucanian or Roman. This is not an intellectual game, nothing to do with political correctness, etc. But this is simply the real voice of the past. Well, but who were the defeated? They were the Lucanians, this native population, an Italic population, defeated by the Romans during the wars against Pyrrhus. And now I will share a video with you. We will go into the storeroom. This is a magic place of Paestum Museum. And we have also opened it to the public, and we hope that it will be possible again in the future when the sanitary emergency will finish, we hope. So now I will share with you the video. Okay, enjoy it. Welcome to Paestum Museum storeroom. We are here because we want to have a look of the social background before the foundation of the Latin colony in 273 BC. This is really a magic and hidden place where we preserve an immense quantity of items and artifacts, all coming from the territory of Paestum. Among these, a special importance must be attached to the collection of painted slabs with fresco technique, coming from ancient tombs of 4th century BC. They are so important for us because they constitute the most probative archaeological document of the arrival here in Paestum of new people, the Lucanians, when the city was still under the political rule of its founders, the Greeks. We don't know how the political change between the Greeks and the Lucanians happened, nor do we know how deep the break with the Greek past was. But what we certainly know is that the break with the funerary customs of the Lucanians was very dramatic, because the Lucanians, differently from the Greeks, loved to be buried in very magnificent tombs with a lot of funerary gifts inside. Most part of the Lucanian tombs are composed of 4 slabs with a double-pitched roof. This is a wonderful example. This is a tomb discovered in 1969 in Andruolo, that is a place outside the ancient walls. And on this slab, we can see a fighting between a female panther and a griffon, the fantastic animal. Near the end of the Lucanian period, some monumental tombs, very different from this, like a real chamber, were built. And they testify for us the social environment that the foundation of the Latin colony met here in Paestum. And they document also which was the social condition in that period. And now we will see one of the most representative among them. We are inside one of the most beautiful and representative Lucanian tombs of the typology of the chamber tomb. Probably it was built very few years before the foundation of the Latin colony, probably the end of 4th century BC, 300 BC probably. And on this side, we can see an horseman, maybe the dead, symbolizing the dead, who is coming back to his woman after the war. On the other side, we see a nice little dog on the back of a horse. The decorations are provided basically by pomegranates that symbolizes the very positive meanings, like prosperity, abundance, fertility. On the front side, that plays the prominent role in all the pictorial composition, we see an adult man, a bearded man, who is welcoming a young by shaking his right hand. Probably this scene is happening in the afterlife. This situation, also the clothing of the aristocrats, the social environment resembles a lot the Roman Società. And so all seems to say us something like the Romans were arriving, or Campania was already under the Romanization before the foundation of the Latin colony of Paestum. This would be a mistake, also because the conceptual model of Romanization is undergoing more and more critics by the scholars. Anyway, this is the social environment and the background that the Romans met here in Paestum when the foundation of the Latin colony happened. Okay, I come back to the presentation. Well, now we go on. Well, so the foundation of the Latin colony. This is our subject. The ancient sources say us that 2 Latine coloniae, Latin colonies, were planted, in 273 BC. Sorry, I've written it in Italian. We have a beautiful statement from Titus Livius, even if, just this book, the 14th book of his histories went lost, but we have some summaries. Coloniae deducte sunt Posidonia et Cosa. Cosa is the second Latin colony that was founded the same year. We don't have a detailed account about the foundation of the Latin colony of Paestum, neither of Cosa, but we can throw light by an analogy with other well-documented cases. So we have 3 questions to answer. Who were the colonists, how the colony was founded, and why? This is the most intriguing. Who were the colonists? So, coloni missi. This is a statement from Valerius Paterculus, another Roman historian. Rome sent Latin settlers. Who knows how much, but how many? But an hypothesis can be done. We will see later. But what is exactly the meaning of Latin? Why we say Latin colony, Latin settlers? Well, Latin means enjoying the Latin rights. So there was no Roman citizenship for them, but an independent political community, so a city-state of individuals with some rights, the use, that granted a privileged relationship with Rome, whose supreme political authority was in several ways recognized. It is called Latin because this was the kind of rights enjoyed by the first colonies founded by Rome in Latium, the region of Rome, centuries before the foundation of Paestum. And the pre-existing people, this is another very delicate subject. Well, the answer lies necessarily between 2 extremes. Expulsion or incorporation into the Latin body, into the political body of the new Latin colony. Well, we have some archaeological evidences that this kind of answer can be in some way the right one, because we have some epigraphs with names of Lucanian people, with Lucanian names in their language. They spoke an Indo-European language, belonging to the Osco-Sabellic group. So we know the Latin language, and it's possible just to give some a foundation of this kind of answer. How the colony was founded, another very interesting subject. Well, the land was confiscated by the Roman state from the previous owners, so the Lucanians, we can say, and subdivided among the Latin colonists. The land was divided on the base of a grid of plots, of allotments, of parcels, each of which was assigned to an individual settler and his family. The territory of Paestum is about 3,000 hectares and 1 hectare for plot. Air photographs, sorry, I don't have with me. Air photographs taken by the Ellis in September 1943 revealed that 22 stripes of land divided in rectangular blocks. So this is not exactly a centuratio. That means a subdivision on the base of a square, but a division for per strigas, 4 stripes. And we have the demonstration is this. This is some drawings on the base of the air photographs I spoke before. We can count 22 stripes, and they are the divisions. Now they don't exist anymore because mechanical agricultural works have destroyed all these signs. But in 1943, they from an air view they appeared. But why the Colonia Latina was founded just in Paestum? This is the most intriguing question, as I said before. Did Rome want to permanently protect the territory fallen into her hands? Yes, this is a right answer, but we can go on. The foundation of the Latin colonies was generally speaking, part of a general strategy, that of the Romanization of Italy. And this is the problem in this concept, because this assumption has been for many years the standard doctrine due to Edward Salmon, the great British historian of Rome. But it is based on this conceptual model, on the model of the Romanization and of the Latin colonies as the real instrument of Romanization of Italy. This is a statement I took from the book of Salmon. But currently, the recent scholarship has deeply questioned this conceptual model, if not discarded, as an extreme simplification. So we cannot speak as Rome had in mind since the beginning, the Romanization of Italy, using the device of the foundation of Latin colonies. Well, this is finally a beautiful reconstruction of the ancient city in the Roman time. So we see the two sanctuaries. This is the forum, where I will focus my attention, and this is the amphitheater. The supreme urgency for the new political body, for the Latin colonists in Paestum, was to create their own political public space. They do this altering the configuration of the Greek agora, of the public Greek space, this one, because they cut all this part outside and they created the public and civil space, the forum, only in the southernmost sector of the original Greek agora. Now we will share a video about this. Must do a...
We are in the south.
Okay.
We are in the southwest corner of the Roman Forum of Paestum. As in every Roman town, the Forum was the center of the political, social, civil, commercial, and religious life of the citizens. It was created directly after the foundation of the Latin colony by the Romans in 273 BC, and it was surrounded by shops, tabernae, if we want to scan the letters of the diphthong, on the three free sides, and later in the time of the Emperor Augustus, by a surrounding portico with Doric columns. The creation of the Roman Forum had an enormous impact over the configuration of the public spaces here in Paestum, because it was created directly over the southernmost sector of the original Greek agora. That was an immense space that ran from north to south. So the Romans projected their own vision of the public space over the original Greek agora. A new epicenter of the social and political life was created, and the Greek agora lost more and more its importance, and the northern part of it was progressively filled with residential quarters, in a way that we are not yet completely able to detect. The creation of the Roman Forum here reflected the political urgencies and needs of the new social body as it was reshaped by the Romans when the Latin colony of Paestum was founded in 273 BC. On the sides of the Roman Forum, it is possible to see the signs of the political life and talent of the Romans. What you see here are the limestone blocks with the holes for supporting the poles to create the septa, the saepta. They were the precincts in which the political meetings of the Romans took place. The precincts were a sacred space. They were like a templum because the Romans had to separate the political space where the meetings happened from all the rest.
Okay, I come back to the presentation. Yes. So now we will visit the Roman Basilica, this building, this rectangular building at the center of the southern side of the forum. The Basilica, as you know, in the Roman time, I mean, was a multifunctional building, often used as a meeting hall. Now we will have a tour inside. Okay.
Looking at the southern side of the forum, we're passing in front of the shops, Taberne, that is Temple of Neptune, and now we will enter the Roman Basilica. The Roman Basilica was reconstructed during the Imperial Age thanks to the financial help of a noble woman of Paestum. And we see the columns incorporated in the walls of the structures and the space in the walls to place the statues of the important persons of Paestum.
Okay, I come back to the presentation. Well, yes, now we will visit a very interesting place, the shops that were built by the Romans on the sides of the forum. This. We will go to visit a shop on the west side of the Roman forum, and I will enjoy the video with you.
We are at the end.
Okay.
We are at the end of the west side of the Roman Forum of Paestum. A little further, there is the Compitum, that is the crossing between the two main road axes. We are here to pay a visit to this taberna, to this shop. This is a marble object, a torculum in Latin, that is a press, probably for oil, and it's still possible to see the spout and the channel. It's possible, it's highly probable that this was a shop whose main activity was the production of perfumes. This interpretation would be really consistent because Paestum in antiquity was very famous for the production of, for the cultivation of roses. Ancient Latin poets like Virgilius, Martial, Ovid speaks of the Paestum roses, Paestane rose, in their wonderful verses.
Okay, let's come back to the presentation. Okay. Yes, about the roses, the garden roses of the roses gardens of Paestum. This is the Temple of Neptune, the front east. Some years ago, we do a new plantation of roses. Of course, we don't know exactly if the botanic species is the same, but many ancient sources, poetic sources, spoke about Paestum. And this is some verses from Propertius. I read them in English. I have seen rose gardens of fragrant Paestum, gardens that would surpass all the others. Victura, lying desiccated under the early morning south wind, the Notus. Let's go on. Yes, now we will do together a walking towards the Compitum. Compitum was the crossing between the two main road axes from that north-south and that east-west. It would not be correct to call them Cardus Maximus, this Cardus Maximus and Decumanus Maximus, because these labels, Cardus and Decumanus Maximi, refer only to urban grid created directly by the Romans. Instead, in this case, the urban grid was inherited from the Greeks by the Romans. So we will share the video. Okay.
We are working on the south-north road axis towards north, and we are approaching the crossing point, the east of the city with the forum. This is the west, and this is the west road that connected the city to Porta Marina, one of the doors of the ancient city. And we are in the crossing point, in the Compitum, and just here in the 30s, a statue of the satyr Marcia was founded by the archaeologists during very important excavations. This statue probably had a political meaning, like many other times in the history of art of the Romans, and it symbolized the libertas, the new political free condition of the Latin colonists who came here to found the new colony in 273 BC.
Okay, now we come back to the presentation. Well, this is the beautiful shot taken in Paestum, 27 March 1931, because just in this day, the statue of Marsyas was brought to light. This is the statue of Marsyas, the satyr. It is not a masterpiece of art, of course. It is divided in 5 pieces. But what is really interesting is the political meaning. Marsyas in the mythology is a satyr who still musical instruments, the double reed pipes, the auloi, from the god Apollo. But in the Roman culture, it had a political meaning, because if you see here, you can recognize the ring, but not the chains of slavery. This is the symbol of the new political freedom of the colonists of Paestum. So it symbolizes the libertas of the colonists. Now we go on. Now we will visit the center of the Roman power. The center of the Roman power is the Comitium. We see here three very important political monuments. The Comitium, where the political meetings for the election of magistrates took place, at least in the early Republican era. The Curia, that is the building for the meeting of the Senate of Paestum, and this temple I will speak about. Now I share the video.
The real heart of the Roman Forum was located at the center of the northern side of the structure. And here, two very important political buildings were built. We are in the Comitium, that is the place where the political meetings for the elections of the magistrates took place. The Comitium is constituted of a circular cavea within a rectangular building, and behind it. There is the Curia, the second political structure here in the center of the forum, where the meetings of the Senate of Paestum took place. The comitium was really important in the early phases of the Republican life, because later its main function, the comitia curiata, lost progressively importance. Beside the west side of the comitium, a new temple was built around 200 years BC. So very few years after the Great War against Hannibal, in which Paestum remained loyal to the Roman state. Livius says us that thanks to the help of Paestum and other 17 colonies, Latin colonies, the Roman state was able to preserve its imperium. We still don't fully understand the relationship between the comitium and this temple, but it's sure that this temple was the first large-sized sacred building built by the Romans here after the foundation of the Latin colony. The temple is elevated on a high podium, and we can still recognize the columns. It's a particular temple, typical of the Roman period, in which two different traditions were melting together. It mixed two different architectural styles, the Doric for the Doric frieze, and we still preserve in the museums a collection of several metops coming from this temple, and the Corinthian style for the capitals of the columns. The deity of the temple is supposed to be mens bona, a personification with a strong political meaning of moral qualities like moderation, good sense, and memory.
Okay, I come back to the presentation. Okay, this is the Temple of Mens Bona, a beautiful view from southwest with the remaining columns. And now we will see a very short video about the metops, about the beautiful frieze belonging to this temple. The frieze now, I think 15 or 16 metops are in the gardens of the museum. We do an open air collection some months ago. Okay. I come back to my presentation. Okay, there are two wonderful statues of Livia, the wife of Emperor Augustus, and the Emperor Tiberius, but they are not in Paestum. They were founded in Paestum. They were brought to light in Paestum in 1860 around, but currently are in the Archaeological National Museum of Madrid. Probably we don't know exactly from where they came, or inside the city or some Roman villa outside. Well, now we will visit one of the most famous Roman building, the amphitheater. There is no Roman town without an amphitheater. It has been said, but it is not always true. And so now I will share with you the video. Of course, the amphitheater currently dominates the Roman landscape of Paestum. Is one of the most peculiar Roman element of the ancient landscape of the city.
The Caesarean here.
Okay.
In the Caesarian era, so 1st century BC, an amphitheater was built in Paestum, where the spectacula took place. Now the amphitheater of Paestum is one of the most peculiar elements of the Roman landscape of the archaeological site. It is supposed that it was constructed in 2 different phases, and later the upper part, probably in wooden, in ligneiss, was added. The 1/3 of the amphitheater is currently under the level of the National Road, and we hope one day it will be possible to bring it to light.
Okay, I come back to my presentation. And this is. So now, but where exactly the Romans, where they live during the Roman period? They live, I said you before, because all the Roman houses are arranged in these rectangular blocks that in some way reproduces the Greek urban grid. Now we will visit one of the most beautiful Roman house, Domus in Paestum, with a wonderful marble impluvium. I share the video.
The houses in the
Must do the operation. Okay.
The houses in the Roman period were arranged in rectangular blocks that basically respected the Greek urban grid. The layout of the houses was that typical of the Roman period, so well implemented in Pompeii. And now we are in the so-called house, domus, of the impluvium. We are in the atrium, and we can see a magnificent and very beautiful marble impluvium to collect the raining water. We are in the peristelium of the marble impluvium house, and we can see all the columns around, the brick columns typical of the Roman period, with all the rooms on the sides. And in particular, one room is very beautiful because of its mosaics with flowers and geometric patterns.
Come back to my presentation. Yes, but what about the new gods? The new gods of Paestum. Of course, the Roman pantheon of gods is quite similar to the Greek one because it was strongly influenced by it. The Romans didn't alter so much the religious landscape of Paestum. They left almost untouched this area, we will see, but in this area we are just on the southern side of the forum. So when exactly where the southern sanctuary finish, it touched the border of the forum. Just here, something of interesting happened, and I will show you the video.
As we know,
okay.
As we know, the Roman pantheon of gods was quite similar to the Greek one, by which it was strongly influenced during the centuries. Anyway, in antiquity, we know that often new people means a new cult, new religious cults, and this is true also here in Paestum, because the new Latin colonists brought with them new cults. For example, we have a very important structure, the so-called Italic temple. This is one of the first temples built by the new colonists, Latin colonists here in Paestum. It is north-south oriented, differently from the Greek temples that usually are east-west oriented, and it is supposed to be dedicated to Mater Matuta. Mater Matuta was the deity, the goddess of the dawn and the morning light, connected also with the childbirth. And from the deposits from this temple, many votives come, representing babes, pregnant women, and also anatomical parts like eyes, wombs, and other parts.
Okay, now I come back to my presentation. Well, what we saw before is exactly this structure, the Italic temple with the north-south orientation, while the Greek temples usually, not always, but really a lot of them are east-west oriented. This is a typical orientation of the Italic people. This is the objects, the items from the deposit of the temple of from the Italic temple, probably dedicated to Mater Matuta. I went into the storeroom to do these shots, to take these pictures. There are some very beautiful little terracotta figurines of Mater Matuta, probably anyway connected to the sphere of the women. They are little heads of kids, of babes, and they are wombs. There are also other anatomical parts like eyes, etc. Go on. Yes, now we will we will visit the most important sanctuary of Paestum, the southern sanctuary, where the Temple of Neptune and the Basilica are located. What about the ancient Greek god of Paestum? Of course, the Romans respected them. They continued to use the temples. They also restored them. But in this area, just in this crucial point, the altar that was the kernel, as we know, of the religious rituals of the ancients, the Romans changed something. I will show you. Okay.
We are in front of the Temple of Neptune, the most impressive and most famous monument of Paestum. It was built by the Greeks around 460 BC in Doric style, and it's really a majestic sacred building. But the name Temple of Neptune is conventional. We still don't know which was the deity the temple was dedicated to. Who knows? Hera, Zeus, Apollo, there are still researches about. The religious landscape of Paestum didn't change very much in the Roman period because the pantheon of the gods was quite similar. Anyway, the Romans continued to use the Temple of Neptune, and there are also signs that they restored it, but they didn't leave this area unaltered. In fact, they destroyed the ancient Greek altar of the Temple of Neptune, and they replaced it with a new altar, smaller and closer to the building. And from this shape, this molding, the cima reversa, it's possible to give a datation, probably 1st century BC. But we are here to have a wonderful experience, because now we will enter the Temple of Neptune, and we will go inside the cella. It's more sacred and intimate space where the statue, the cult image of the unknown god or goddess was housed and worshipped. A great respect will be required.
Okay, now come back to the presentation. Well, I'm finishing. This is the most exciting experience in Paestum. We hope that in the future it will be again possible when the sanitary emergencies will finish. This is a cross section in the reconstruction of the temple of Neptune. We will enter the site. This is the representation of a ritual, of a procession of the animals to the sacrifices on the Roman altar. Keep in mind that the reconstruction of the statue of the god, of the goddess in this case, is purely hypothetical, because we don't know if it was Hera. They have supposedly Hera here, but I said you before, it's possible also Zeus or Apollo. It's still an enigma. Now I share the video. It's the last one. Okay.
We are in the pronaos of the temple of Neptune, and our intention is to pay a very respectful visit to the god of the temple that also the Romans worshipped during the Latin colony period. We do these steps, and now we are on the platform of the cella. If we count the number of blocks that compose the stripes of the platform, we recognize always three elements. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But when we reach the fifth column of the internal space of the temple, something changed because the number now is 2. This is the sign that this was the delimitation of the most sacred and intimate space. And it's highly probable that the statue of the unknown god was placed something like here, in this place. Probably the statue was here in the center of the end part of the cella, and her or his view was towards the altar for the sacrifices during the great festivals of the city.
I come back to my presentation. This was the last video clip. Well, yes, exactly. This is a wonderful view of the Temple of Neptune from the top. It was an enormous excitation for me to go there 3 years ago when they were cleaning the temples from the grass. You can still recognize here. This is the internal space of the temple with the double orders of columns. Now we go on. This is my last slide. Well, this is the Temple of Neptune towards the mountain. Who knows? My hypothesis is that it is exactly oriented here. This is another subject. But I'm sorry. I want to read you this. Not able to read because of this statement from the great British scholar of John Davison Vasile, a scholar of Oxford. He was devoted to the study, as we know, and the classification of the ancient pottery makers, ancient pottery painters. But I think this statement is still valid. I think that this is this is what exactly antiquity can still teach us. The man and his style during the time as a sacred thing. And I want to finish so my presentation. Thank you for your interest.
Thank you very much, Marco, for this amazing presentation. And I think it gave some ideas to everyone for a future touristic journey in Paestum, once the frontiers will be reopened, of course. So you have a lot of messages for you from people that have visited Paestum or that are thanking you. But we have a little bit of time for some questions. Catherine is asking, why was Paestum abandoned and why?
Yes, Paestum was abandoned probably in the late, until about the end of antiquity. After the end of antiquity, late antiquity, 6th, 7th century after Christ. The reason is some also changement of the territory, because Paestum was changed into an enormous swamp. So water everywhere. So the people was forced to finally to leave the site and to build a new city over the mountains. This is Capaccio. It's possible to see from the temples towards east. And another element that played a role in this event was probably also the attacks from the Arabs. The Arabs were in Agropoli, where 10 kilometers south of Paestum, they had a military establishment there.
Thanks, Marco. It was a really nice lecture about Paestum. And Stefano Forcoli asked, where was Cosa?
Yes, Cosa is another Latin colony built in the central region of Italy in the same year. So 273 BC, Rome founded two Latin colonies. In that case, in the case of Cosa, the war was against the Etruscans. So they defeated the Etruscans and they founded the Latin colony of Cosa to protect that part of the territory. They defeated the Lucanians and they founded another Latin colony in the same year in Paestum. The difference is very interesting because differently from Cosa, Paestum was already a city, was a Greek city. Instead, Cosa was built from nothing.
Okay, thank you very much, Marco, for this. And we have a question from Pablo, who is asking how the transition between the Greek, Lucanian, and Roman moments of the city, and did this cultural crossroad influence architecture, art, etc.?
Yes, as I said, we have some important archaeological evidences that the urban aspect, the urban configuration, and architectural configuration of Paestum didn't change with the Lucanian conquest. So also the urban grid, the enormous agora. Think that the agora of Paestum was 10 hectares, so an enormous space between the two sanctuaries. The Lucanians didn't touch them. The changement happened with the Romans. Also the temples were used by the Lucanians, also by the Romans. The Lucanians are quite invisible from an archaeological point of view. You don't see them in the city. You must know where to find them. They are not so visible.
Well, we have one last question in the chat from Domenico. And he said, if the excavation of the area, some traces of Samnite settlement have been found in the layers, like in the site of Cumae, as the horses frescoes in one of the tombs showed have a lot of affinities with the famous Samnite tomb of Nola.
Yes, this is a very important question. And this is the problem. This is a conceptual problem, because if you use the conceptual model of Romanization, you could explain all. You could say in that period there was a Romanization, so all the cultural elements are quite similar. This is not the right answer. Anyway, of course, there is some connection between the Lucanians and the Samnites. The Samnites conquered several Greek colonies also in that area, and Cuma was one of the first. Cuma probably was conquered by them in 420, so 20 years before the Lucanian conquest of Paestum. But when I say Lucanian conquest, it's a problem, because we can say this only because of the funeral artifacts, as I said you before. That is the break between the Greeks and the Lucanians, the tombs. Great question.
More questions?
Not at the moment. Not
Not
at the moment.
Exactly.
No, I just saw that there are a lot of appreciation for the presentation. So everybody will go to Paestum as soon as possible.
Yes, I'm there.
Me too. And I'm ashamed, because being Italian, I've never been there. But next time I go, I will make sure to come to visit you, really.
Yes, Paestum and Velia also. Velia is the place where Parmenides and Zeno founded philosophical Western thought. So Paestum, Velia.
Oh.
I do a bit of propaganda for my site.
We have to make